Hello people, and welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be showing you how to dehydrate food using an oven and not a dehydrator, and I'm also going to be showing you through the food that I'm taking to Norway with me on this trip this year, and to see if anyone, I have no doubt someone's going to ask and someone's going to be interested. So yeah, I've already done a kit loadout video, so I thought I'd do the food loadout video as well, and also show you how I put it together and create like a lightweight meal food for very cheap. So the first thing I want to say is I bought all this food from one supermarket, Asda. It's one of the big supermarkets near me, and I did a rough kind of calculation. If all this food is dehydrated and what I class as lightweight food, it's all calorific. It's got protein, it's got calories, it's got nutrients, it's got everything you're going to need on the trail. I did a rough calculation on what it would have cost me to get all this much food from a company like Mountain Warehouse? I think it is, or Adventure Food. You know, the ready-made dehydrated meals. For 6 days, I figured it out to be roughly about £50 to £60 minimum. I think it probably cost you a little bit more. That was kind of based on getting it for breakfast and like dinner. I didn't class getting like a lunch in there as well, because they're about £4 to £5 an actual packet. Everything you see here I got for £18. So a week's worth of food and £18 is pretty good going, if you ask me. Got a fly. So you're making a massive saving there, so I definitely think it's something to consider doing if you're going to get into kind of lightweight backpacking or any kind of travelling. It's just so much, it's a lot lighter and it's a lot cheaper than either taking normal food with you or taking really expensive already ready meals with you. So yeah, I'm going to take you through what I've got and show you. Okay, so everything you see here is absolutely all the food I will be taking to Norway with me. We're going for 7 days, but I need, I think I worked it out to be 5 breakfasts, 6 dinners, and 7 days worth of like lunches and trail foods. So I'm going to go through with you what I've got. So here we've got the 5 breakfasts. They're a mix of different flavoured porridges. I'll show you this later in the video. Different flavoured porridges with a bit of oats in there and milk powder. So I've got enough for each day. You'll probably notice that absolutely everything here is repackaged into Ziploc bags, because I believe it's a lot easier, and it just means you haven't got a load of packaging like this you've got to either carry out with you, or if you haven't got a fire you can't burn it, so people sometimes you'll see on the trail people just thrown away. And so it's much better to just put everything into Ziploc bags to start off with, so that way you can just keep all the Ziploc bags with you, put them all into another Ziploc bag, and just you can take them all away with you, and you can reuse them as well when you get back home. So yeah, anyway, as I was, there's 5 porridges, different flavours, so you've got different tastes for each day. Mixed fruit in there, milk powder, and a little bit of extra oats just to thicken it out a little bit, because I know I haven't got quite enough there as it comes already. Next up, you've got 5 main meals. I like to change up the actual main ingredient of the meal for each day, so we've got a little bit different texture. So we've got couscous for the first one, noodles for the next, pasta for the next one, rice and smash, which is mashed potato. They've all got a mixture of tuna or beef or pork in. Again, you'll see that later in the video. And then over here you've got, these are my trail mixes. I've got 4 lots of trail mix. Don't expect to use one per day. It's just a case of there's plenty there. For the first day or so, I probably will kind of just natter at one of them. It's after kind of the 2-day, 3-day mark, I'll really start to develop probably one of these a day when I really start to get hungry. And they're a mix of chocolate raisins, honey roasted peanuts and fruit. And the other one, there's peppered cashew nuts, mixed fruit, and again chocolate raisins. Just a different variety of nuts in there too, so it's not constantly the same. Over here it's got some hard-boiled sweets, so they're just good to have a suck on while you're on the trail. And just over here, these are just kind of what I consider extras. The Skittles are more of kind of a dessert food. After you've had your main meal, you know, you always get a little bit peckish before night, so I'll just have a bit of a nibble on them. Beef jerky, simply because I like it. Doesn't really weigh anything, and at some point I'll probably have a nibble on it. And then these two cereal bars here are just, don't plan on eating them, but they're just good to have. Over here is the main kind of snackage over here. In this bag, that's Bolero. In this bag I've got 3 packets of Pop-Tarts and 3 square bars. I class them as kind of second breakfast. I'll have this when I first wake up in the morning, and then about 9-10 o'clock when I've done about an hour on the trail, I'll stop and tuck into one of them, just to keep me going through. And then after that it's onto the trail mix. But yeah, this over here is just kind of extra food that I don't necessarily need, but it's nice to have, just backup food. So yeah, I'll now go and show you how I go about making these and portion control and stuff like that. Okay then, just to start off, before I start doing anything at all, here's the food we've got. This is my week's worth of food that I've literally just gone and bought from Asda. And I've seen in the past, not a lot of people, but I've seen a few people that would just buy this and put this straight to their rucksack as is, not as it is, but they won't take any of the packaging off, they won't do any work to it, but they'll buy the stuff from Asda cheap, but they will just shove it straight in the pack. And it actually takes up a lot of space, as you can see. You know, it's a full carry bag. Like that's half my rucksack right there. So you've got a lot of dead space in there actually. What I do want to do is wait as it is. If I was to put this straight into my rucksack now, it would weigh in at exactly 4 kilograms. That is. So if I was to put that straight into my pack, it weighed 4 kilograms. Now we're going to do the dehydrating process and everything, and prepare everything properly. Get rid of all the packaging, and we'll reweigh it and kind of see what it comes in at then. It'll definitely be lighter than that, I can promise you that. Now obviously to dehydrate food properly, or you know, the more professional way, people will use dehydrators. I haven't got a dehydrator, I'm using an oven. You can do it very easily with an oven, it works very well, but what you have to have is a fan assisted oven. You can't do it with a gas oven and things like that, because you need the air circulation, you need even air circulation, and a good tip as well is to leave the door open slightly so it doesn't overheat. But yeah, I'm going to switch the oven now and preheat it. You want to put it on about pretty much the lowest you can get it on actually. You want to get a very kind of, the way you dehydrate food is you put it on a very low temperature for a long period of time. So I'm going to put it on 100 Celsius, I think it's Celsius, I don't know how ovens work. I'm going to put it on 100 Celsius now, I think it is. Let that preheat, that's on now. And then when I do put the meat in, it's going to go in for about 4 to 5 hours. It really does sit there for a good while. But that's the way you do it. So, onto the meat. Okay, so I've got a couple of different pieces of meat here. I've got some beef, some minced beef. I've got some pork, which is pre-sliced, so that's just basically spam. And I've also got some tuna. I'm going to dehydrate all of these. I'm actually going to, there's not a lot here, I'm actually going to split these down to different meals because I don't put a lot of protein into my dehydrated meals. But when you buy your meat, you want to get as lean as possible to get as least fat as possible. We're also going to go through a process in a minute to try and get as much fat out of this as physically possible as well. Because basically fat makes the food go rancid. It will make the meat start to rot over a period of time, and the idea is that we can store this meat for this food for a long period of time. For my last trip to Snowdonia, I made that food about 4 to 5 months in advance, and it kept absolutely perfectly. So you know, if you want to, you can make this in batches and just keep it in the freezer, and it will keep. So yeah, we've got a colander here, or whatever you call it. So we're going to take this out and we're going to break it up. You want to get it pretty much in as smaller pieces as you physically can. Obviously minced beef is very easy because it's already broken up. The pork is going to be a little bit harder. I need to slice that as small as I can. We'll do one at a time. Be careful not to. Try not to squish the minced beef too much to turn it into like sludge. You just kind of be gentle with it, just kind of break it up. But as you can see, that's pretty broken up now. There's a few bigger bits in there, but for the most part. So now what we're going to do is we're going to run it under boiling water. I did originally start doing this with cold water, but I've been told boiling water is the way to go because it kind of breaks down the fat. So yeah, I've just boiled the kettle. I've boiled the kettle, a full kettle, get plenty of water in there, and we're basically going to run this through there now, and give a spoon and give it a bit of a breakdown. Right. So normally I'd use my hand to kind of run the water through and rinse it, but that's the wrong way of doing it. You need to use boiling water like I just said. So I've now got a sieve spoon, or whatever you call one of those. I'll call it a sieve spoon. So I don't know the best way to do this really. It's going to be a bit awkward. In fact, actually, I'm not going to be able to do that because I need to kind of shake it as I go. So there we go. Right, we've got a full kettle of water, and we just want to give it a shake as we go. Oh yeah, you can see the fat breaking down there. Kind of give it a bit of a shake up. Get the bits that haven't been done. Now I'm sure you'll be able to find plenty of other ways, and I'm sure I'm probably doing it wrong of some kind, but I know it works. I've done it a few times and it works absolutely perfectly fine. So I'm sure there's other ways of doing it which you can probably find, or there's some people that tell me that there's a better way of doing it, which there probably is. So if I'm doing something different, please tell me. The theory is now that majority of the fat should have been broken down and washed through the sieve. So it should be able to keep as long as physically possible now, which last bit of water. There we go. I basically just tipped about 1.5 litres of boiling water onto that. There you go. So next step. Okay, so here's the baking tray. I'll put some grease-proof paper on it. Okay, so here we've got we've got a baking tray with some grease-proof paper. But what I like to do before I put it in there is I put it on a piece of kitchen towel and just press as much of the moisture as possible. This kind of just quickens the process up a little bit when it gets in the oven. So this is still hot. You need to really kind of. You haven't got to let it cool down or anything, as far as I know. Well, I never have anyway. I'll just kind of slap it back straight in. But yeah, just kind of dry it out a little bit. So at the moment, obviously, it's full of moisture. Just want to quicken that process up as much as possible. Right, I'm going to get some more kitchen towel. Okay. So we'll just roll it around in there a little bit. The pork's going to be interesting. I haven't done the pork before. I'm sure it'll work fine. Like I say, this beef's probably one of the best ones to do because it just breaks down so well. Let's put that in there now. So here's your greaseproof paper, roughly put in by me. Drop that into there. Oh, the floor's a bit slippery, I'm going to fall over. Okay, so now we've done that. You want to space this out as evenly as possible. You want to get as much airflow around this tray, or around this meat, as physically possible. So really spread it out like that. And then after an hour or so, you want to turn it over, flip it over, mix it up a little bit in the oven. and leave it for another couple of hours, and just do that, just to keep it airflow and get it nice and even. Right, so let's put this in the oven. Let's get the dog out of the way. I don't normally leave the oven door open because it's never needed to, but you can do it if you. I mean, my oven will go down to 80 Celsius or 80 degrees. So if you say you've got an oven that won't go down that low, just leave the door open slightly so a little bit of the heat comes out, so you're not overheating the food. But my oven goes down really low anyway, so it's not really a big deal. I think Dehydrated go down to about 50 degrees. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I think it's about 50-ish. So yeah, now let's try the pork. Okay, so here's my lump of pork, which should be pre-sliced, but I can't see any. Definitely says it's pre-chopped, but it doesn't. It look, yeah, I think that's just a block of beef. Where the a block of pork, where the pre-chops are, I don't know. Anyway, I don't know how this is going to work because it looks pretty fatty, but I don't know. We'll give it a go. But yeah, this is going to go in with the noodles and stuff, so it's going to make a little bit of like a. It's going to be like a bit of a Chinese dish. Like I said previously, the idea is I try and get different textures and different flavours in each kind of dish. It's mainly the texture for me. When I'm on the trial, I don't like to be eating like the same kind of texture food constantly. I learned that very quickly in Sweden when all we did was buy pasta and it just got very repetitive. But when I went to Snowdonia, I had pasta, I had rice, I had smash, and I very quickly learned that that's the best way to do it. That's the way I enjoy it. So every day you've got something different to look forward to. So I'm going to just thinly slicing this as best as possible. It's going to be difficult now. And then we'll slice and dice that, I think. I am Gordon Ramsay. Right, I'll leave that bit out because it's a bit chunky. So I just want to slice this up as best as possible. Literally, the smaller you can get it, the better. Because, like I say, it'll dehydrate a bit better. It's going to be interesting when you pour the boiling water on this one to see what it comes out like. Okay, so here we are again with the pork. It's nice and finely chopped up, pretty much as small as the beef was. So we're now going to give this a bit of a... See how this gets treated by the boiling water. Oh, you can smell it, it's like cooking. It's not like cooked beef, cooked pork. You keep saying beef, is it? It's going to be an interesting one because this is quite a cheap meat, you know. This tin of pork cost me about £1 compared to the beef which cost me like £2 something. So it's definitely a cheaper piece of meat, but I think it'll work. There's no fatty bits in it now. You can see, obviously, when I first took it out of the tin, it was covered in like a film, that yellow fat on top. There's none of that now. It just looks like solid meat. Obviously, there'll still be a few remnants of fat in there, but for the most part, it should be all out now. Got a bit of pork in the sink, but alright, let's dry it out. The dog's enjoying the fatty water that's falling all over the floor. Try and get as much of this out as possible. And obviously, it takes just as long to do like one batch of meat as it does to do two, so you may as well if you're going to do this, you may as well do as much meat as you physically can. Then later on, down the line, when you've got more trips to do, you haven't got to bother keep doing it. You can have like a back storage of dehydrated meals. Just dry that out as much as possible, and then I'll put it in the oven tray, just like I did with the beef. I won't show you that. And slap that in the oven then. Well, we want to put this on a separate tray now. Oh, and something you might want to take into consideration is some people like to cook to dehydrate their things separately, so they might wait for me to do the beef and then put the pork in afterwards to save the flavours, like mixing up. But that doesn't really bother me that much. I haven't really experienced it being that much of an issue, and it saves a lot of time. You know, it takes 5 hours to dehydrate one thing as it is, so I don't really want to be waiting any longer if I can help it. So I'll put them all on separate trays and just bang them all in the oven together. Right, so I'll put the last one in the oven. I'm going to do the tuna is something I'll do later on, because obviously it's fish. It does smell quite strong. I don't want to put that in there because I don't want it all smelling of fish. But those two together doesn't really bother me. I can live with that. And I've also got some mushrooms to do, but I'll just put them on a rack and shove them in there. It's no big deal. Okay, so now we're going to work on breakfast. For breakfast, generally I just have porridge. I do have a selection of things that I can do on the trail if I'm feeling a little bit more peckish or don't really fancy porridge. So, for the most part, I buy these things. They're just the multi-grain pots. But the reason I buy these is because you can buy the big boxes with the sachets in, but you don't get as many different flavours. You're quite restricted to flavours, and well, I think there's a bit more in here actually. But obviously, if you put these in your pack, you've got a lot of dead weight, because you know over half of this is just empty space. But I've got 5 here because I've got 5 breakfasts for Norway. I've got honey and vanilla. I've got this is a muesli one, but it's got rye and barley in. Caramel, sweet cinnamon, and strawberry and raspberry. Oh no, strawberry, raspberry, and cranberry. So what I do with these is get them out of the way for a minute. To start off, you want to get yourself, to do any of this kind of dehydrating malarkey, you want to get yourself some small refreezable, some small resealable freezer bags. That's what you want to get. The ones with either with the Ziploc or with the press lock. These are press lock. They're just the ones that I tend to get. And literally every single item of food here I will take out of its packaging and re-put into one of these. It just makes it a lot easier on the trail, and it means you don't have a lot of kind of rubbish kind of lying around. It means you can just, once you've emptied one of these bags, you just fold it up, put it back in your pack, and I bring them back home with me normally, and I reuse them. But after my last trip, I think I used them about 2 or 3 times, and they've gone a bit too far gone. So I've got myself a fresh pack for Norway to start fresh. So, starting off, we'll take the first one. Actually, the first thing you need to do is, I need a marker pen, back in a second. Or I'm back. The first thing I like to do is actually write down on the bag which flavour it is, so I know. So, I've got to think they're going to be rolled up like this. So they need to be on the top lip on the back. So this one is strawberry and raspberry. It hasn't got to be smart, it's just got to tell you kind of what flavour it is, so you can kind of work your way through your meals, so you can choose what you want. Otherwise, you know, these got different things in them, but for the most part they're going to look very similar once you've got them open. So yeah, I'll take each individual one out. I mean, look at that, look how much empty space you've got in there. That's taking up a lot of space which you don't need. And then what you're going to do with, if you're not having fires, what you're going to do with that packaging then, if you just take that with you? You're going to throw it on the floor like a lot of people would? No. It's best to just have one of these little bags so you can just pack it up and take it with you. Right, so that's your first breakfast. That's giving you flavour and your kind of your main bit of the meal. And then what I like to do is I like to add a tablespoon worth of extra oats, because I know that that's not going to be enough for me. So I've done a bit of experimenting over time. Oh look, I've made a mess. So I'll just put 1 extra tablespoon of oats in there just to bulk it a little bit more. And then what I do is milk powder, because this is, I think these add water, aren't they? Yeah, they are. But for the extra bit of oats you add in, you generally want a bit more milk powder. This milk powder's got a little bit hard, but for the most part, it's okay. So milk powder in there. And then, mixed fruit. If having oats every day on the trail, it does get quite boring just eating oats, so you definitely want to have something to chew on. You don't want a lot, you don't want to overdo it. I actually find in the morning that I'm not actually that hungry. My hunger tends to kick in kind of just before I start walking. But you know, everyone's different, so you kind of need to just, on your first couple of trips, if you haven't done it before, you just kind of need to test the water and just kind of go prepared, and you'll quickly get an idea for kind of when you like to eat and how much you like to eat and stuff like that. So yeah, that is a breakfast right there. Simple as that. And then I'll roll that up. Get all the air out of it. And again, this can be stored then if you need to. If you want to make these in bulk, you can put these in the freezer and store them. But yeah, that's one breakfast right there. And if you can imagine, you make several of those, they're going to pack together very nicely compared to that. So yeah, that's one breakfast. And you can leave me now to do the next 4. Okay, so all the breakfasts are done. Now, this is a simple one, but it's my trail mix. I have roasted cashew nuts, and I have honey roasted cashew. I have black pepper roasted cashew nuts, and I have honey roasted cashew nuts. And instead of carrying them and then carrying my milk chocolate peanuts and my Skittles, I mix them all together in one bag. I think I'm going to leave the Skittles out, and I'm going to treat them as more of a dessert thing. So I'm just going to mix up the nuts and the raisins, and do it that way. Just for do that for the trail mix. I'm going to have some mixed fruit in there as well, because I love my mixed fruit. You can't have enough of that. So this is the roasted. And I'm just thinking I might be able to halve that actually. Yeah, what I'm doing is I'll halve that. So you got to think, I've got to have fruit and thing in there as well yet. So I'll do 2 half packets. There you go. Oh yeah. And then lots of fruit. And then these, I'll do 4 bags of these. So what you see here, I'll have 2 more. And then, yeah, this is basically my lunch. I don't have like a sandwich or like a wrap like some people do. I just munch on this all day, so I have plenty of this. And then it just keeps me going. I mean, if I don't eat it all at lunch, I'll nibble on it at night after my evening meal. Okay, so you join me back roughly about 4 hours later, and the 3 are done. So I'll just show you those now. I've got the mushrooms, the beef, and the pork has basically turned out. It's basically bacon bits. It's incredible. I'm so pleased with it. The tuna is now in the oven, but I won't bother you with that. I'll now go to the table and I'll show you how I bag all this stuff up. Right then, we'll just bring the meat over. Give me a second. Try not to drop it all. Just another example of the mushrooms. You can see them there. They've gone down to such a small size of what they were. But what you've now got to take into consideration is that there's still a whole pack of mushrooms there, so you don't want to go and chuck that whole thing. Like, you could chuck that whole thing in one meal, but that's a lot of mushrooms. You don't want that many, so you literally you've got to think about how actually big they're gonna rehydrate to. So yeah, definitely take that into consideration when you're kind of sorting through. So I've lost my list, but what I'm gonna do is I've got a couple of packets of like my bulk meal. What I'm going to start off with, so I'll show you that now. I've got smash, which is my particular favourite. Basically, I've got cheese and onion smash, which is mashed potato. I've got tomato, Mediterranean sauce, pasta. I've got Chinese rice, and I've got chili couscous. There's something else I've got somewhere. What's the other thing? Oh, and noodles. I've got 2 packs of noodles. Now, something which I'm going to give you a little bit of a tip on when shopping. These things, if I was to buy the top range version of these noodles, it would have cost me about £1.20 or something like that per packet. These cost me 49p a packet, and they had pretty much exactly the same calorific and nutritional value as the more expensive pack. So what you need to do is always look on the bottom shelf. That's where they put all the cheapest foods. Humans are not trained, but we naturally shop at eye level. So they put the most expensive or most eye-catching products at eye level. So virtual merchandisers always put the more cheaper products right on the bottom shelf, because you don't typically look down there. So if you're looking for the cheaper versions of most foods, generally they're going to be on the bottom shelf. So yeah, always check the bottom shelf. That's a bit of a tip. So I'm going to put the pork with the noodles. I'm going to put the tuna with the couscous. I'm going to put the beef. I need to split the pork and beef between 2 things. So I'm going to put. How should we do this? I might do. Yeah, I'll do rice and pork, noodles and pork, and I'm going to do pasta and beef and smash and beef. So here goes. This is going to be we'll start off with rice and beef. So there's a couple of ingredients you just start with. Obviously your main bulk ingredient is going to be the rice, so we'll bang that in first. What I'd recommend with all these things is, obviously you've got to get used to the portioning control. So what I'd say is just do it once at home and rehydrate it at home and just try it and see if you've kind of got it right or not. That's what I did in it, and it worked. It's a little bit of a trial and error thing, but eventually you kind of get the knack of it. Right, this is the dehydrated veg, and you can buy this. I think these were about 90p a box, and I've got 1 box for the whole week because you just spread it out. I don't put a whole lot of veg in, but you know, it's one of the, it's like the similar to the mushrooms. They actually rehydrate to quite a lot. I mean, there's not a lot there, but split that down to 4. I won't put it in with the tuna. We've got plenty there. constantly making a mess. I think 1.5 tablespoons should do of veg, I think. Can always add more later if I need to. And then I think I'll do 1/2 tablespoon of mushrooms. Okay, so that's kind of your bulk there, and then you just got to add the protein in, which is obviously going to be pork. I think this pork has turned out really well actually, I'm really pleased with that. You can smell it as well, it's packed with flavour, so I'm not too sure about the fat content. It seems to be dried out quite nice and it doesn't seem to be too shiny, so I mean, that's one. I'm not actually got I mean, these are only going to be sitting in the packets about roughly about 2 weeks and then they're going to be taken out, so I've got nothing to worry about really. So yeah, and that's my first meal there. I mean, it doesn't look a lot, but you've got to take into consideration that everything's got to rehydrate, and generally I've normally got a little bit left in the bottom where I kind of need to I have to normally force myself to eat it, and that's kind of where you want to be really. You don't want to have loads of leftover food that you can't eat or can't force yourself to eat. These kind of portions, I eat most of them, and then the last little bit I'm like, oh, I really don't want that, but it's just enough to be able to, you know, get it down without being too miserable about it. So yeah, let's do the next one just to give you an idea of the next one, and then you can leave me to it. I won't do noodles yet because I've got to break up the noodles. Like I say, with the bags again, it's just a case of just put them in your rucksack, bring them back home, and reuse them. I've actually just found a couple that I've just washed out. Where's my pen gone? It also makes everything really easy, because can you imagine if I took all these things separately and I had to kind of mix it all together when I got there? Massive pain, you don't want to be doing that. I just remembered I've got an open packet of Smash here from Snowdonia, because Smash rehydrates a lot. So there you go, I can save that packet, that's a winner. I absolutely love Smash, it's kind of like, oh, it's just so tasty, and it's a real big texture change when you're on the trail. I normally leave this, well, I'm going to leave this till about day 3 I think. Day 3 and day 4, when they're normally kind of your toughest days, so I normally leave my favourite meal till about then. That's a lot, I think I've got too much in there. Right, vegetables. And beef. Where's the beef? Where's the beef at? Beef at? You can quickly see how all this kind of comes together. I mean, I've got everything I need now. I've got protein, I've got carbs, I've got vitamins in the vegetables. We've got, you know, you've got quite a sustainable meal there, really. And it's very simple. All I've got to do is empty the packet into my pot, rehydrate, and warm up. And the good thing as well about rehydrating meals is that pretty much as soon as you get back to camp, you can put them in the pot to rehydrate, and then they're literally just sitting there ready to warm up then, and all you've got to do, because they're already cooked, I mean all this meat is pre-cooked, so all you've got to do then is just literally warm it up. Okay, so here we are at the end. You can see now how it's all compact down, like that was the full carrier bag's worth of food, and it's now in a, what's that, maybe 4 litre dry bag. It's open at the top at the minute because I need to take a few things out because it won't all be in here. But I'm just going to test the weight of it. Keeping in mind it was 4 kilograms as it was to begin with. I haven't tested this yet, so see what it comes down to. This is quite interesting. 2.56. 2.5 kilos. So we started at 4, so we've lost 1.5 kilos. That's pretty good if you ask me. I mean, just from dehydrating that, just from removing packaging and dehydrating the protein and the meat, you get down to that. I mean, 2.5 kilos worth of food for a whole week. That's pretty good going if you ask me. So there you go. That's how you dehydrate food in an oven, and that's my food loadout for Norway if you're interested. Any questions? Let me know. I'm sure there'll be a couple of questions because it's a bit of a strange process. And yeah, that's it for this video. And the next one I think is Norway. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you again very, very soon.